Hello, thanks for joining me again. You know so much about grammar, but when it comes to the practical aspects, you feel that you have a long way to go. Most of the learners from all the levels tell me this. Even I feel the same thing. You know a lot about grammar. Sometimes it is just too much of concern with the grammar concepts and formulas. If you have noticed, many learners make mistakes with the past tense. They interchange, they get mixed up, they get confused, puzzled on where to use the past and present. Of course, they know it's very easy. When do we use past tense? They know. If you ask them when do we use present tense, they know. But when it comes to speaking, they make mistakes. And that is primarily because they don't focus. So if you're going through this phase right now, you need to do this activity. Because 95% of the learners make this mistake. And you tell them, you're making a mistake here, you're getting confused with past tense and present tense immediately. They won't even realize that they've made this mistake, and then they say, I know about the grammar, I know where to use it. It's not done consciously. Yes, it's not done consciously, it just comes like that. Your mind tries to accommodate and adjust with the words that you have in your mind, because as you speak, your mind would tell, let's take this word and put it in the form that we can right now, even without focusing. It's not enough that you just speak in English to people. It's not enough that you just read and listen. But don't you think that it is high time that you consciously and carefully rectify these errors? It could be a bit frustrating because you are trying to do something that you already know. During conversational sessions also, whether it's a co-learner or with the tutor, most of them make this mistake. And in between, I'll give you the guidance. So shall we get started with the interview experience of Chakunni Chawal? So here is the interview experience of a person whose name is Chakunni Chawal. Now what is all this Chawal and Chakunni? Let's see what's the story. It's about a true incident that happened, and I just thought of writing it down and helping you with the past tense and the present tense. You are listening to Renee Rose Matthew. I'm a CELTA certified tutor, and thanks a lot for joining me. I have done a lot of videos on practical activities, practical sessions on how to learn vocabulary. Please look at the channel description and go through all the videos. I've included even book reviews in case you're meeting me the first time. Now let's get started with the activity. So you may think that you're not making mistakes, but when you take assessments or when you attend interview or when you go to a higher level in your career also, for example, someone will tell you this, that you are making silly grammatical errors. And at that time, it can be a bit frustrating when you realize that you have been mixing up the present tense and past tense. And it's not the job of other people to correct you, your colleagues or people who are not meant to correct you. Very few people will go to the extent of correcting you. Now, the real problem is with past tense, present tense getting mixed up. Now, your task is to put each and every sentence in the past tense. I'm going to narrate the interview experience of a person. And what is the name of this person? Chakunni Chawal. Okay, so he is on a job hunt. He's looking for a job. And let's see what happened to him. It's a small situation, not a story exactly. And if something is relatable to you, you can also write to me about that, because most of us struggle when it comes to taking sessions to help learners crack an interview, because there also grammar and communication is very important. And in your case, you may feel that you have been attending a lot of interviews, but still you get disappointed after the group discussion or after the first round itself because of your communication skills. The interview experience of Chakunni Chawal. Are you ready? Okay. So I don't want to miss on any of the lines, so I've written it down. What is your task? To convert it into the past tense. Every line is in the present form. Present continuous, at some places it's in the simple present tense, and you have to convert it into the past tense. So I'll give you an example. So the first line is just simple. That is what I told you now. Here is the interview experience of Chakunni Chawal. Now the activity begins. Chakunni Chawal is looking for a job. That is, he's on a job hunt. Now here I'll give you some clue. Now can you see the clue there? Chakuni Chawal is looking for a job. That is, he's on a job hunt. Now I have given these verbs. Is looking should be converted into the past continuous. It's not just simple past. Was looking for a job or was on a job hunt. Was looking for a job or was on a job hunt. I'll give you time to convert also, because we have to convert each sentence into the past form, because it happened, it's already over. And some people ask me, ma'am, is it necessary to always use past tense when you narrate something? If it happened in the past, of course you have to use the past tense, but sometimes some storytellers have the quality of transporting you back to that situation. For example, if the story of a forest with a lot of animals and then a hunter comes in as the villain, the storyteller may narrate it to you as if it's happening in front of you. Have you experienced that? For example, the storyteller may say, so you have all the animals gathered around the lion and the lion is trying to make an announcement. So you feel, why is it in the present tense? So the narration happens as if you're transported to that particular time. It is possible when you narrate something. Okay? You may feel that you make mistakes only with the irregular verbs. No. Even when the verbs are regular, you tend to make mistakes without your attention. So if you focus on a particular story or a context, then you will get engrossed in the topic. In the story here, for example, even if you get engrossed in the topic, in the sentences, you shouldn't be making mistakes with the tenses. So that is what you want, right? Now, are you ready for the next one? He surfs all the newspapers, browses through websites, inquires with different companies because he desperately wants a job. Now, how do you convert this into the past tense? We'll wait for some time. I have the lines in the present form. Now you're going to put it into the past form, okay? Just wait for some time. You can pause and you can then convert the whole thing. It is not difficult actually. You just have to take one part of the sentence and then convert it. Okay, so let's look at the answer. He surfed all the newspapers, browsed through websites, inquired with different companies because he desperately wanted a job. So it's not just converting the verbs, but you have to look at the context. So here we made changes through surfed, browsed, okay, inquired, wanted a job. Finally, he receives a call from a company named the Mantra Tires. He's happy. You can wait for some time and then after that, I'll display the answer. On the day of the interview, he wakes up late at 8 a.m. and he's supposed to reach the office at 8:30 a.m. I'm giving you time to just convert it into the past context and then you will get the answer to the whole thing. On the day of the interview, he woke up late, irregular verb, at 8 a.m. and he was supposed to reach the office at 8:30 a.m. Is it clear? He was supposed to. He is supposed to. He was supposed to. I hope you understood the pattern of this activity and what you're supposed to do here. Let's look at the remaining sentences. He jumps off the bed with a jerk and rushes to the washroom, freshens up, picks up his neatly ironed clothes, buttons the shirts and pulls up his trousers. Now I'm giving you some time to convert this. First, you can circle the places where you really need to convert it into the past tense and then we'll see what can be done. Okay, so I'll do half of it. He jumped off the bed, correct? With a jerk. So nothing is to be changed there. And rushed to the washroom. Freshened up. Freshened up. It's not freshens up. Freshens, yes, present tense, but freshened up. Picked up his neatly ironed clothes. Now, ironed is not a verb. Okay, ironed is the adjective. Ironed clothes. I hope you know that. Yeah, ironed clothes. Buttoned the shirts and pulled up his trousers. So I've just given the places where you needed to change, the exact areas where you really had to put it into the past context. He leaves his house within 10 minutes and reaches office on time. Now let's wait for the places where change is required. He left his house within 10 minutes and reached office on time. Did you get it correct? Some of them are regular verbs and some of them are irregular verbs. Now when you speak, you may have a tendency to just continue with the verbs that pops up in your mind. So you know that you have to use the verb reach, drive, and then just use it accordingly. Okay? You may just end up using the verb just like that without changing the form, not realizing that you have to change it according to the context. It comes with practice, but what kind of practice? These kind of activities. Are you ready for the next one? It's unusual to see all the candidates sipping the welcome drink, specifically before an interview. Now, how do we change this? We need to change this, definitely. It was unusual to see all the candidates sipping the welcome drink, specifically before an interview. Now, you may have a confusion here. It was unusual. I said it is unusual, but then we changed it to it was unusual to see all the candidates. Why didn't you say to saw? It was unusual to see, because you already have two verbs in the same part of the sentence. So the second form of the verb, look at the first one, it was unusual. Okay, you converted that, became was. But after that, to see all the candidates. To see is the second verb. So that should be in the infinitive, or it should be in the ing form, which can be the gerund. I think I've mentioned about this in one of the videos, where if you have two verbs in the same sentence, most of the time, according to the context, there are exceptions, you have to put the second form of the verb in the infinitive form. What is the infinitive form? To see, to drive, to drink, and or you can put it in the gerund form, that is with ing. But here we cannot say it was unusual seeing all the candidates. No, that's not correct. It was unusual to see all the candidates. You cannot say it was unusual to saw all the candidates. No, to see all the candidates sipping. So you're speaking about sipping. Here sipping is not the verb, it is the gerund. Okay, you're speaking about sipping. That is who were sipping, but here we haven't said who were, but it was unusual to see all the candidates sipping the welcome drink, specifically before an interview. Now let's see how well you can do the remaining sentences. He takes his share of the lime juice, which means he also got a drink. He took his share of the lime juice. Now the next sentence, on slurping down the juice, he releases a burp and happily waits for his turn. On slurping down the juice, he releases a burp and happily waits for his turn. So this is the clue. Where should we change? I've given the clue there. You can change accordingly. Do you want to know what happened to him later? After 20 minutes, he walks into the cabin and takes his seat in front of an interview panel of 5 members. So here is the clue. You can use this clue, which means, what is the meaning of clue? You have to change these areas. You have to change the forms of the verbs in these areas. After 20 minutes, he walks into the cabin and takes his seat in front of an interview panel of 5 members. So 5 members were there waiting to ask questions. He is asked to introduce himself. Clue is there. He was asked to introduce himself. Okay. So look at this sentence. He was asked. I changed is to was. You would have also done the same thing. But why not to introduced? No. Because you have one more verb in the same sentence. Similar to what we discussed earlier, you already changed the first verb, was asked, to introduced. So how do you change this? He was asked to introduce and not to introduced. That is wrong. Some people say he was asked to introduced. No, that's not correct. He speaks about his place, qualification, and experience. Where should we change now? Okay. Now, while speaking, he forgets the name of his company and stares at the panel, puzzled. He blinks his eyes. Confused. This can happen to anyone. Have you ever come across such a situation? He forgets the name of his company, the company where he's working currently. He's looking for a better opportunity. So he has been working with some company. We don't know whether he left the job, but still he forgets the name of that company. Okay, so look at the clue. These are the places where you need to change. Okay. Eyes wide open and confused. Now here, you don't have to change. Eyes wide open and confused. So it's not written like this. Eyes are kept wide open. No. It's not a complete sentence. Sometimes you come across such kind of sentences in some stories. It's just a description. So not necessary for you to change it completely into past tense. Not required. Eyes wide open and confused. Okay, you're describing it. Past context remains the same. He manages to say, I've been working in so-so company for 5 years. So he gives a name. I've been working in so-so company for 5 years. Now where should we change? I've been working. So here this person, I'm just giving you the context, he's still continuing. He's working in that company. It has been almost 5 years and he's looking for a better opportunity. He's on a job hunt, but still he's not happy with that work. He has been working there for almost 5 years. Now, when you convert it, it's not necessary to change the dialogue into the past tense. He managed to say, I've been working in so-so company for 5 years. I have been. Present perfect tense is always used. Now here it is present perfect continuous. Present perfect tense is also used when the situation or when the action is true to your present experience. It is true to your present status, or when there is repetition. So here he has been working. It's still going on. It's ongoing. The experience is going on. But if he gets a job here with the Mitra tires, he's going to leave the job, probably. That's what happens. He cannot work in two places, right? That's why I told in the beginning that he is on a job hunt. He's looking for a job. But I didn't mention that he's looking for a better job. So now we understand. So this is the beauty of a story or a situation. As you read, you disclose certain things. So I've been working in so-so company for 5 years, but where do we change? He managed to say. You don't have to change the dialogue. One of the panel members asks, why do you want to work with us? And hope you know the name of this company. So this person was trying to find out if Chakoni Chawal forgot the name of this company. Okay, so you need to know the name of the company or the institution where you're planning to work. And he was checking because they understood. He forgot the name of the company and then he just managed to insert the name so-so company. This is just for your reference and for the activity I've put this name. He manages to say this. One of the panel members asks, why do you want to work with us? And hope you know the name of this company. So that can be in the same tense. No need to change. But one of the panel members asked. That's how you correct it. So are you ready for the next half? He says, yes, I want to work with innovative groups like you. And the name of this company is Mandir Tires. He says Mandir Tires. Okay, let's see what happens after that. Now, where do we change? He said. I told you the dialogue need not be changed when you change it into the past context. We're just doing this for practice. But if you want to completely convert the dialogue to the reported speech, okay, if you want to completely convert the dialogue to reported speech, indirect speech, definitely will have to change every verb, every part of the sentence accordingly to the past tense. So, but here it is dialogue, okay? He said, yes, I want to work with innovative groups like you, and the name is he fumbles a bit, Mandir Tires. So look at the next sentence. Chakuni Chawal realizes that he has made a mistake with the name of the company. So just now he made the mistake. Now how do we convert it into the past context? Chakuni Chawal realized that he just made a mistake. Not he had made a mistake, but he just made a mistake. Or you can simply say, Chakuni Chawal realized that he made a mistake. Either way. Okay, both are correct. He feels low at his foolishness. He feels low. How do we convert it? He felt low. This is a common error made by many learners. When it's fly, they say flied, which is wrong. Feel is feeled. Sometimes they just continue saying feel. I felt that something was wrong. If you want to say, I felt that something was wrong when I was speaking to my boss in English. Many people say, I feel that something is wrong. If it's going on now, you can say, I still feel that something is wrong with my English. But when you're narrating an incident, for example, if you want to say, the other day when I was speaking during a meeting, I felt that something was wrong. You cannot say, the other day when I was speaking during the meeting, I feel something was wrong. So this is a common error, not because you don't know the past form of the verb feel, but you make the mistake because you're used to that and you're not focusing. Now, how do we focus? This is the activity. Okay. He felt low at his foolishness. Okay. He feels lost for a few seconds and then an idea flashes his mind. Now, where do we change? Here. He felt lost. It's not that he got lost. Okay, he felt feeling lost. He felt lost for a few seconds and then an idea flashed his mind. Flashed his mind. Okay, then immediately he says, yes, it's mandir tires for me. See how he changed the whole thing? Immediately he said. The dialogue need not be changed. You can retain it as it is. Yes, it's Mandir Tires for me. What is the meaning of that? What is the name of the company? It's Mantra Tires, but he says it's Mandir Tires for me. He realized that he made a mistake, but still this is his answer. I see my work as a mandir, like a temple that is sacred to me. So if Mantra Tires appoint me, I shall be delighted to see this as my mandir. So that's why Mandir Tires. Okay, so you can retain the whole dialogue as it is, but you can say immediately he said, yes, it's Mandir Tires for me, because he sees his work, the place of work and the work as a mandir. It's like a sacred place, a holy place that is meant to be very clear, sacred, special at the same time, true to your work. So a lot of meanings. It's not just that you go and worship the work. Many people see their work as sacred, holy, something that is considered to be genuine, a place where you have to be sincere. When you say your prayers, you are supposed to be sincere to yourself and to the place of worship and to whom you're praying. Right? So that is a belief system. Seeing the work as something that is sacred, holy, with so much reverence, that is the meaning. So look at his power of decisiveness, the presence of mind. Though he is unsure of the panel's final decision. So where do we change? Though he was unsure of the panel's final decision. Yeah. He feels satisfied, but decides to never mess up with names. He felt satisfied, or you can say he was satisfied. That's also correct. There are more than one ways of correcting it, or it's not just correcting the sentences but changing the sentence into the past form. He felt satisfied, he was satisfied, but decided to never mess up with names. So look at this, but decided, the first verb in that particular place. So again, coming to the whole sentence, he felt satisfied, but you have a connective there. He felt satisfied, but decided to never mess up with names. Okay? Or you can say he was satisfied and decided to never mess up with names. So that is how you change every sentence. You can also take sentences from a storybook or from any activity book and change it into the tense that confuses you. And if you tell yourself continuously, I know so much about the tenses, the problem is I'm making the mistakes without my realization, or I don't know why I'm making the mistake, it's because you're not focusing. So first, record yourself using a voice recorder. All the mobile phones will have voice recorder. If you're comfortable with the camera, just sit in front of the camera and try speaking on a particular topic. I think voice recorder is better to begin with, and then you listen to the pattern of errors that you make and then see where you're making the mistake. So begin with small steps. Okay, so suppose you feel you're making mistakes with all the tenses, you begin with past and present. There are a lot of learners who feel that they make mistakes with all the tenses. You begin taking short and small steps. You can convert the available sentences from a magazine or a storybook or an article into some other tense. So if the line is in past tense, change it into present tense, or some other tense that's always confusing or that has been confusing for you ever since the time you began learning this language. And then if you're not able to properly communicate, if you feel that still you're making some mistakes, you need to be under the guidance of a trainer for some time, because you could be using a method that's not feasible, that's not practically helping you. You could be just speaking in English. I come across a lot of people who take conversational sessions, daily conversational sessions, but still they make mistakes. I'm not speaking about the bigger mistakes. Of course, mistake is a mistake, but it's not the major mistakes, but the basics. It's not with the vocabulary, it's not with the idioms and phrases or the higher levels of speaking in a particular language, but it's with the basics. Of course, you may not have somebody to correct you, but you can analyze yourself, you can assess and then do this activity. So this is connected to past and present tense, because I simply feel that there are a lot of learners who make mistakes. Just listen to all the conversational videos and even people speaking to tutors. 95% of the people make mistakes with the past tense and present tense. And then there are a few who are confused with the perfect tenses and the other types of tenses. But if you get this much right, present tense simple, past tense simple, and future tense simple, all the simple forms of the tenses, at least 60% of your problems get solved, because then after that you can broaden your knowledge in grammar to the other types of sentences. So that's very important. Happy learning.